Welcome back. You're watching the CNBC TV 18 special from the India Economic Summit. We're in conversation with GE's Vice Chairman, John Rice. Let me ask you about some specific challenges, and I ask you this in the context of the U.S. presidential election. I mean, Mr. Trump has made no secret about the fact that he wants to change the way that business operates in America. He wants to bring jobs back to America. He keeps talking about Ford. He hasn't mentioned GE, though, but specifically he keeps talking about Ford as an example of how jobs have moved out of America. How much of a challenge is that going to be for companies like yours? If you were to be in the White House? Well,
we operate in 180 countries, and there's a measure of populist protectionist rhetoric in many of them now. That's the world we live in. You know, we're prepared to operate with whoever the U.S. president is after the November elections and when they're inaugurated in January of next year. It reinforces what we're doing here in India and other places. We have to win at the local level. So we take our global strengths, we take good capabilities that we have in places like the United States and Western Europe, and we leverage them, and we ship some of those products to markets like India, where we add to them and modify them and create what we need for the Indian market. That's the nature of global business. And I think what you hear in the U.S. presidential election and in other places around the world just reinforces the importance of us doing that very, very well.
But the rhetoric that you hear, and if you'd like to call that rhetoric, it may very well be a real threat at this point in time, or what Mr. Trump is saying, or perhaps what we saw play out with the Brexit vote. There is a perception of globalization being a bad word. The world seems to be moving towards deglobalization, if I could call it that. So what kind of pressure will that put on the business model that companies like yours have followed for so many years?
Well, if we can't ship jet engines from the United States to our airlines around the world, we're going to employ fewer people in the United States. It's as simple as that. I think we have to make sure everybody understands that. We have to do a better job of telling a story so people don't see globalization as a threat, because you're exactly right. The message now is that globalization is bad and some form of protectionism and populism is good. We have to be the ones, and companies like us have to be the ones that tell the story in a way that people understand that there really are benefits to this. And we've got a lot of jobs at stake in a lot of countries in Europe, like the United States and Western Europe, that require our ability to participate in global markets.
Would you say that this is one of the key risks facing business today?
I'd say it is a risk, for sure. You know, it's one that I think we're equipped to deal with because we've been spreading our wings, if you will, and making sure that we've got the resources and capabilities and manufacturing and servicing agility to do lots of different things in lots of different countries so that we can respond when and where we have to if the walls go up.
You know, you're talking about transforming yourself into a digital industrial company. Here at the World Economic Forum, we're talking about the challenges that economies like India will face because you have a young population hungry for jobs. You need to create jobs, and then there is a threat of automation as well. You know, what would your prescription really be? And I know there are no easy answers to this, but, you know, the key solutions that perhaps both at the policy level as well as at the corporate level in partnership that we need to think about?
Education, training, capacity building will be the determinants of success over the coming decades. It's impossible to predict exactly what skills you will need in 2030. What you have to create are leaders who are capable of leading in that world, and skilled workers who have the right skills can be retrained. And so the issue for me is less about trying to predict exactly what we're going to need and more about making sure that we have a workforce around the world that's capable of learning, developing, growing, being retrained, multi-skilled. The days are over when you can be in a manufacturing plant and just know how to do one job. You've got to be able to know how to do 3 jobs. And you got to be able to fill in for this person or that person when they're out. And you know, in 1978, when I started with GE, most of our manufacturing plants didn't have that. Today, in our best ones, they all have it.
We're out of time, so let me end by asking you, and I know that, you know, GE has continued to invest in India through the good times and the bad times. at this point in time, as you said, capital goes where it can create value. And yes, the India story on a macroeconomic front is looking significantly better. We've moved up, whether it's the competitiveness rankings or the ease of doing business rankings and so on and so forth. But as a long-term India investor, what would be, to your mind, the unfinished items on the agenda of reform that real businesses need to deal with that you would like to get done?
Well, we have to build out the digital space now in India, and to the extent that the government can support that and incent that, it has to come from us, and it has to come from other companies. It's going to change the way everything works in the 21st century, and India should lead.
India should lead. At this point in time, India leading global revenue as far as GE's emerging market portfolio is concerned?
Not yet, but that's our opportunity.
But when do you hope to get there?
As soon as we can.
All right, John, we'll leave it there. Appreciate you joining us on CNBC TV 18 as always. Thanks very much for your time, and we wish you all the very best.
Thanks.
With that, it is time for us to wrap up the CNBC TV 18 special from all of us here. Goodbye. Many thanks for watching.